So my name's Ofure and I'm currently working with Black Economics, doing social media and admin and other things that like documentaries as well. Like I'm doing the editing a video currently. I studied fashion and textiles at uni. And yeah, this is what I'm doing now. So Serena, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi guys, my name's Serena. I'm 18, so I'm a student and I do social media part-time as well as working on my own businesses. Maybe I'll go in more detail later on, but we'll see. Yeah.
And Korede?
Hi, my name is Korede. I'm a founder of Be High Tuition. I'm also the founder and CEO of the Ofure Foundation, where we are trying to advance education in Africa so that everybody has the opportunity to learn, because I believe education, it really is the way to lift yourself out of any kind of like poverty or situation you find yourself in.
Definitely.
So that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Nice.
So we're gonna start with our first topic, which is there a cap on the level of success Black people can reach in this day and age?
Straight up, I think no. I think yes, it's always going to be harder because at the end of the day, we have got back, we have been set behind. So it's going to take a lot of catching up, if ever, because at the end of the day, every race is trying to push forward in advance. However, I believe we have more opportunities than ever. And I think it's awesome to focus on them. Despite what's going on, there's also a lot of positives in this day and age and a lot of good things that come with being Black and starting businesses and being entrepreneurs. And if we really embrace that, I think we can go to amazing heights, especially if we work together. That's my opinion. Yeah.
I don't think in theory there is a limit. I think the sky really is the limit, as Serena said. If you put your mind to it, you can achieve it. I think that's what we have been shown. I think what role models have shown us. But I think the reality of the situation might be slightly different, especially within the UK compared to America. If I think of the role models that we look to, many of them are American, and that I think that there is a space that they have, or the way they've created things is far more ahead of us. Like they're just so advanced in terms of creating like media outlets and TV spaces that they're able to shine. Whereas in the UK, those infrastructures just currently aren't there, and they're not strong, and they're just not strong enough. So while it is possible, I think it's significantly still difficult for Black people, specifically in the UK, I'd say.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I actually realised that as well. Like, there isn't, for the UK, there's not really like a Black TV program like BET, like there is for African Americans. But I guess like we kind of know that the history is a bit different, like here and America. Like there was still racism, you know, for us here, but we're all from. With African Americans, it's like, okay, there's one community there, like, you know, and then here, there's people from different places. So I guess maybe it will be a bit harder for them to try and, for whoever, because like, who's supposed to start the channel? Do you get what I mean? Like,
that's what, yeah. I was actually going to say, like, do you guys think it's because it's impossible or because we haven't actually come together yet to do, like, obviously I'm aware that there's a lot of Black people trying, like, doing so many different things in media, but is that due to there being a cap, or is that, again, going back to the original, like, it is a lot harder for us, so there is still that push? And of course, it doesn't take away from the fact that there is discrimination, but does that mean that there's a limit? I don't know if that means that it's impossible to do. I feel like we could. Of course, it'll take a while, but I think it's doable in the UK.
Yeah. And the thing is, I guess like we do have our own platforms online. If you think about it, like ZZ Mills and like there is people doing stuff on YouTube, and online world is kind of the future. So if we're thinking about TV, maybe that's not necessary these days.
Yeah, maybe we've chosen that to kind of step away from it and go to
So we've got loads of things. We kind of create our own media these days. Like our role models might not be Megan Thee Stallion or anyone that we see on TV, we can pick and choose. We don't have to, there's not a limited amount of representation. If we're talking about like the big celebrities, the people that everyone knows, okay, that's a bit different. But we do have more of a choice than people 20 years ago. They only had what they saw on TV and what other people could say. You know, they might take that and think, oh, like all black people are like that, if you get what I mean. But now there's so many, in my personal opinion, online as well, that we don't have to really be categorized into small boxes. Like, yeah, do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I think I get where you guys are coming from, but I think there are very few things that are impossible. Do you understand? So like, if the question was whether it's possible, there's very few things that are impossible. Is it impossible for women to make it? It's not impossible. There are many things that are possible, but I think it's really, really important for us to think about probable. Like, the probability of these things are still significantly more difficult and less for women, let's say, to climb the corporate ladder, and more so as well for black people as well to climb the corporate ladder. So if the question stops at, is it possible? 100%. It's always been possible. There's always an example of a black person that has done it. Even like if we talk about even from like slavery times, things like that, there were people who became free. It wasn't impossible to become free, but it was really difficult. So I think that's where we I think we sell not that we sell dreams, but we have to be very aware of why, let's say, you made it and someone didn't make it. It wasn't because it's not always because you were better. It just so happens that the opportunities that came to you meant that you would make it, whereas somebody else who's also black and had the same kind of could have done it, didn't do it, and you look at them like, oh, you could have done it if you wanted to, and it might not necessarily have been that easy for them because the same chance didn't happen for them. I don't know, I can talk about my own personal experience in terms of my parents made certain decisions on my behalf, nothing to do with me, that meant that I could do the things that I do now. Whereas somebody who's just as capable, if not more capable than I, their parents hadn't made certain decisions for them, I have to understand that it wasn't necessarily their fault, if that makes sense, that things will be more difficult for them. So I can't look at them and be like, oh, but I did it, therefore, you know.
Yeah, so really,
it wouldn't be fair.
What you're saying as well links back to having a support system, you know, having people that
100%
are there for you,
100%.
people that are encouraging you and trying to tell you that it's possible. Because if you notice, like a lot of the celebrities, they've got their parents or they've got their family around them. Like Beyonce, it was always her parents that they made so many sacrifices for Beyonce to be where she is today.
That's where I think it comes into a lot of like, for me as well, as you said, it really does, you have to have a support system, and that does link back again to maybe sometimes it's not necessarily society having a cap, but also we have to look at our own culture. For even me, for example, if I take my personal example, I do text, I have an app, a hair and beauty app. Now I made that decision to drop out of school actually to pursue because it was very hard. And because of that, I could argue that me now starting this tech company, God knows it could grow and grow. We don't know in the future. I haven't made it per se yet. However, this can then stem from me having the opportunity of being able to step out and take that decision for myself. Now, while doing that, a lot of people did look at me funny and say, oh, you were smart enough. Why didn't you go Cambridge? Why didn't you go uni? Why didn't you go? There's so many different roads you can go down. And it always goes back to actually taking a look at ourselves and allowing us to not have such a rigid mindset, despite the fact that we have had so many step backs, which have made us think, you know, as Black people, we need to go this way, like education is our only route. If you really look at our community and encourage more people to be more creative, to be able to step out of what the traditional zone is, then it will only just, you know, broaden the horizon there already is. And that's another thing. It's like, yes, of course, everyone's going to find it hard and everyone's going to have different opportunities. It's also allowing people to find those opportunities. I wouldn't have been able to do the things I'm doing now, or at 18 seen the opportunities I have if I wasn't able to step freely into myself and step into my creativity. And Black people as a whole, we're very creative and we have a lot of ideas, a lot of things that could be brought to life. Whereas other races, I feel like, are being pushed, especially like Europeans. Entrepreneurship isn't just spoke about like, oh, I'm a CEO of this, that, but they will genuinely push their children into running their businesses, taking over their companies. Whereas I feel like we haven't reached that point yet where we are given that independence, we are still taught, work for this person, maybe get medicine and work for someone else. Yeah, there's other ways to branch out, like have your own practice or whatever, but we're really not being pushed into that creativity, which I feel like will definitely show more people more options, more opportunity, and that cap or that limit, which a lot of people feel like they're pushed under, would really start to open up once we start to embrace that in our culture.
Yeah, and I'm noticing a lot of young people, a lot of young Black people starting businesses these days.
Yeah.
Whether it's nails, lashes, hair, you can start anything. I mean, even if you don't know, we've got YouTube, you can learn on there.
Yeah.
Obviously it's better to have a qualification so that you're covered. But there's no limit as to what any of us can do if we really want to do it. We can't say we don't have time, because if you've got time to watch TV, you've got time to spend 1 hour a day, at least 1 hour a day, add that up over the week or the next month or a year, and that's a lot of time. So
yeah. I think we also need to try and maybe have a conversation with the older generation, because I know a lot of kids in my situation, I get DMs of people asking how I started such a huge venture at such a young age. But there's also the fact that there's a lot of kids which wouldn't even be able to, if they asked their parents to drop out of school, they'd get kicked out. It's like an ultimatum of you either stay here or you guys stay here. So then it becomes less of a race issue. Yes, of course there's race issues, but before we start looking at white people giving us opportunities and white people helping us out, and we have to then look at, okay, can we maybe address certain things just in our community ourselves, and allowing people's minds to broaden. Again, goes back to conversation of, there's so many different, I've heard so many stories of people being literally kicked out if they don't go to uni, or it's not as easy as that. You have to follow certain rules. So I think definitely we should have those talks within ourselves and within the older generation as well, to maybe, I don't know if it will change, but with parents especially.
It will change, because we're the next generation, aren't we? So
yeah, we can.
We are the parents. We are the future parents.
Yeah. So we're the ones, we've seen what we can do to help our children become the best version of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, and who knows, maybe they'll look back and say, this is what I'm going to tell my children, because my parents don't tell me this. So that's just how it goes. I think every parent does the best that they think. They're doing what they know, what they've seen, and what they think is the best for their children. So
the fear as well from their experiences and trauma from them trying to make it up through the UK. And a lot of what they pass on to us is due to their own fear of what has happened to them. So it's understandable at the same time.
Yeah. So with what we're saying, there isn't really a level, there's not a cap on the level of success that we can achieve. But if we think about it in terms of like where we're positioned, like let's say, if any of you saw the documentary, The Little Mix, Leanne, she was part of Little Mix, and she was the only mixed race or black girl that was in the group, and she felt like she was treated differently because she was the only one who was not white in the group. So and she has less, I noticed that she has a bit less followers than the other girls. I don't know if that's still the case, but if we think about it in that type of way, is there a cap on level of success Black people can achieve in this day and age?
With that specific example, there's also which I don't know about you, but a lot of Black people within my circle don't really listen to Little Mix. So I feel like Little Mix is targeted. I don't know, obviously I have to speak to the marketing team, but I'd assume they're targeting more towards English girls. So because of that, there's also the question which those English girls are therefore most likely to follow the people which are more, just role models.
More like them. Yeah, it's true.
There's also that question whether is it a cap, or is it because that's not their target audience?
Yeah.
Maybe Little Mix was targeted more towards us, Black youth. Then maybe she would have more following. So I think that's that's
very, very true.
That's very true to think about,
because if she was a standalone artist and that wasn't her audience, I don't think she would have, because there's loads of other Black celebrities as well that they don't feel like, well, I don't know, but we're not seeing that they feel a certain type of way because they're not compared to anyone else. They're in a group with other people. But I guess like with Beyonce and Destiny's Child, she was the lightest one, so people felt like, oh, maybe she's being favored more because she's light skinned. But then at the same time, her dad made the group, So, I mean,
you know,
so like, obviously her dad could have been pushing her to be at the front of things a bit more. Like, there's a lot of different things that could be the reason why one is more popular than the other. So,
100%.
yeah.
I think that I would say, going off of what Serena said with regards to parents, I think that that's really the key situation here. As somebody that works quite closely with parents, parents will come up to me and be like, my son is going to be a doctor, and so therefore I'm like, did he say? That's what he said. You know, it's this idea that they've decided on these 4 successful careers, and if they don't go into that, then they can't support their children in those areas. And I think that's really the main issue. Football wasn't even an option for many, I would say, Black, I can speak of African for sure, parents, until they realised, oh wait, they're really doing well, they're really making money. Before that, no parent would support their child in terms of taking them to football lessons or to do all of those things. So I think, really, coming back to that, I really think that is the main issue. It's making parents understand that, or highlighting their fear, understanding that, because I think that's the issue, so that we ignore their fear. Their fears are valid. The fear that if I let my child go into this unstructured kind of space, will they be able to make it? Is there enough funding or money there for them to be able to work there? And that's the issue. They want you to be successful because they made sacrifices so that you wouldn't have to do the same thing. So the whole hustle thing isn't for them. They want you to just be happy, stay in one place. That's it, you know?
Yeah.
So I really think that that's really the focus, is re-educating parents about what's out there in terms of careers. And even within the safe careers, there's just so much out there. If you know that your child is amazing at music, you know that there are spaces where even within a structured space, they don't have to become a musician in terms of starting a record label.
Yeah.
There's jobs where you can actually create music for adverts and stuff like that. I know people making ridiculous money.
Thanks, yeah.
Yeah. I really just think that we need to rewire the mind of the generation that is raising these young Black kids, you know?
Extracurricular activities, like I think that's very important, like getting your children involved in sports and different things, because you never know what their talent might be. From a young age, if you get them to do lots of different things, obviously if you can, I mean, I know like for some people there might be like financial limitations, but if you can, I think it's good to get your child involved in as many different things as possible, because it will really help with, like, getting them involved in football. Even if they don't become a footballer, what about the team building skills that they get? What about the connections, the friends? They might have friends that become footballers. So I think that's very important.
I think it actually ties really well into glamorizing the hustle question.
Yeah.
Because also that hustle on social media, although there is positive and negatives, which we will discuss, I think it has opened up people's eyes to more options that they wouldn't have realised if it wasn't for social media. For example, if they've always been in their home environment, always been told it's either law or medicine, even though there is a big stigma around, you know, have to hustle this, start your own business, it has also had a lot of benefits of, again, showing young Black people that there is so many other options than what they're just taught from their parents. There's so many other routes you can go down and so many more opportunities. You don't have to just stick with the one-way system, but yeah.